Being Reap Smite League, we have an RSL set here today between the Bargain Bunch and Clearly Hacking. I'm joined here with Son of Two Dog, and we're going to go ahead and get through the picks and bans here. Son of Two Dog, what do we want to see here from Clearly Hacking and Bargain Bunch in these picks and bans?
Well, starting off, Bargain Bunch. If you don't play Persephone, ban it. And then Tiamat, I think Tiamat should be gone. And Odin on the other side, clearly hacking. Obviously doesn't want to play against an Odin. And then a Loki ban here. I'm a little shocked by the Loki ban, but if you're trying to get some good picks, a Loki ban's a great ban.
I do see the Hell band coming out as well as the Artemis. I do think both of those are great bands. Hell is a great flex pick in here. So if you're the Bargain Bunch, who are we looking to first pick here?
There's a few picks available, like Osiris, Gilgamesh. Warrior jungles are just the meta right now, so you need to go pick them up. I forgot about the Ardio. Ardio, best solo laner. As a backline, I would dread right now if I'm clearly hacking.
Ardio definitely causes some terror in the back line here, and we're going to go ahead and see the Hera hovered. I don't know if this is a great first pick from Clearly Hacking. They might be trolling a little bit here. And the Hachiman. Both of those, wow, they locked both of them in. Not necessarily a meta pick, but how are we feeling about the Hachiman and the Hera locked in on the first two picks from Clearly Hacking?
One or two things is happening. They either don't respect the bargain bunch or they have some tricks up their sleeve, and we're about to watch some entertaining smite from clearly hacking.
Yeah, I get
'Cause
the feeling this is more of a comfort pick kind of draft here instead of, "Hey, let's go with the meta and what's working right now," as we see, Fenrir and Raijin both hovered here. I do like both those picks. Son, I don't know how you feel about the, Fenrir and the Raijin, but what are we third picking here if we're clearly hacking to counter this great draft so far from the Bargain Bunch?
Well, if they're going Hachi Hera, they gotta go something along the lines of a lot of peel, or you know what? Let's just lock in at Thanatos. Ye I still don't understand this draft, but at the end of the day, I love it. It's
Wo
co
Wow,
This
that
is
is
mind-boggling right now.
I don't understand. You have all kinds of picks available. They do ban out the Ymir, which I can see that if that's not a Fenrir support, which I assume it's gonna be a Fenrir in the jungle, but clearly Hacking's draft here, it looks like it's just a, "We're gonna dive you at 5 minutes and win, or we're gonna take a loss in game 1."
I
We
can
s
see that too, and if you're having fun, that's the draft to have, right? If you're having a lot of fun with Hachimon as an ADC, you take the Hachimon. Hera, I don't understand why you pick it this early, but you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. The Xing Shin, are they just trying to do a reverse draft here on us? Because if they went the other way, I think it'd still be more viable. Now, watch their last pick be like an Osiris Gilgamesh.
They're gonna lock Nox in. Let's see it. I wanna see the Nox lock in here right now. See, we Gilgamesh hovered. Gilgamesh was left open too. Wow, I this draft is a little odd, and we see the Hou Yi locked in as well. So if you're clearly hacking here, what's your last pick in this odd draft?
They're missing a solo laner, or they're
Or
missing the
is
support,
Jing's
and they could
going to
go
solo?
and they're going Ganesh. I'm telling you right now, if they did the opposite, I would not complain about that draft. If they went Ganesha and Xing Shin first and then Thanatos, I would not be complaining about that draft. But because they went Harahachi first two, it allowed for the Fenrir, it allowed for the Gilgamesh and the RDO to. I would not want to be Hera right now, or Hachi, and for that matter. I don't see a lot of fun
Definitely,
happening for that back line.
definitely an interesting draft to say the least. I give the first draft to Bargain Bunch, unless people are comfortable with off meta gods, and that can actually change in this kind of competition. I am curious to see how the Thanatos plays with this Ganesh because with the silence, there is no way to get out of that Thanatos all other than burning the beads and then making the play right after. Argus obviously is always a big deal. Can tank towers, does give you a little bit of peel with her shield. But I see this Fenrir, Gilgamesh, Hou Yi combo, and then with the Raijin ult as well, might be too much for this kind of draft to handle.
But but yeah, at the end of the day, Hera, Hachi, they could get run down by that team over there. The Zingshin, Ganesha, and the Thanatos, that's a lot of CC coming from that front line. It
And
looks like an all-in comp from Clearly Hacking. As we get into this game here, it's 2 minutes into the game already. Little technical difficulties, but at the end of the day, I no first blood has happened yet. That's a great sign for the bargain bunch.
I do agree there, especially with the early game comp that they have going. It does look like Clearly Hacking does have pressure in the duo side here. But Thanatos does come in on this Raijin here. Raijin does get out. ADC is still pushing over here in this duo lane. I do want to see the aggression from the duo lane early with this Fenrir support like it is.
But the Fenrir support is not going to have the greatest aggression against a Ganesh. Isn't
Yeah, one silence and you're done.
yeah,
I do agree with that.
yeah, no brutalize going through. The Fenrir did get kind of countered by the last 3 picks because you can't really brutalize through a Ganesh silence. You go into the Thanatos, he silences you. You're not going to have a lot of long brutalizes in this game, but because he's on the support, that's not a big deal.
And if you are clearly hacking, as we do see Thanatos come in for a possible gank opportunity here, looks like he is going to dive onto this. Hoi gets out. The Fenrir is getting collapsed on, but it doesn't look like they're going to get anything out of this. And that brings me up to the next point. If you are clearly hacking, how do you deal with such an early pressure here? What's the goals for this early game to get yourself into the late game where you guys can kind of thrive with this team comp?
Just play safe. Like, you got a Fenrir, play for the pick with the Fenrir, play with the pick with the Gilgamesh. You don't have to be overzealous on these fights. Just relax. Raijin can take care of a lot that Hera brings in mid lane. Try to play through mid lane. Get the 3v3 going. You got the Fenrir, Gilgamesh, Raijin, and your support's the Fenrir. So he can take the silence. That's a waste of silence. So you want to just run it down, I think, in the 3v3.
So we set up for this. So it's a Fenrir ult, and Hoi ult does come in onto the Ganesh, and they do end up getting the kill here. And they're also diving the Hachi after Hachi picks off the Fenrir. So we trade out support for support here, but it looks like Hachi is in a bad spot. We do see a possible gank opportunity coming in, hovering there, but it doesn't look like they're going to make anything come of it. So I do think that was a good fight for both teams. Mask is definitely showing aggression very early, and so is Amish on the Fenrir, which I do like to see. Even in this this early game comp that they're going against, they are still out pressuring this duo lane, which is really good for them. If they get Mask ahead, I really think it's going to cause a lot of problems for the Bargain Bunch. Now, if you are Bargain Bunch, how do you really push this lead as we have an invade on the red, and Argus does go ahead and drop Jimmy, but Raijin will get out.
You asked the question and they delivered.
They answered immediately.
they didn't even wait. They were like, yeah, we're going to answer that question for you right now. And
So-
if I'm Bargain Bunch, just keep doing that. Get one pick, don't overplay your hand, and reset, and then go right back at it.
So you're saying more of an onslaught here as we do see the drums come out and the Ganesha ult as Hera will fall, but Thanatos ult does go ahead and pick up the mid laner in Raijin as well. That was a great counter gank from Ganesha and Thanatos there. Again, like you just said, Bargain Bunch doing exactly what we asked for them, pushing this early team there. I know the Hera does fall, but you also get the mid lane and the support is very low and we'll have to back. So with clearly hacking here, I don't know if the Gilgamesh was the greatest pick into this team comp, as I don't have a lot of CC for it as far as just a Fenrir ultimate. How do we see the Gilgamesh get more involved in this game?
He's going to be the one burning the beads. I think Fenrir, whoever he pulls, they're going all in on it. They don't have a lot of CC outside of that. Gilgamesh is going to be the main distraction with RDO. Any beads they get, I bet Fenrir 100% capitalizes on it. Now, Bargain Bunch, they're getting the picks, but they're overstaying, which gets clearly hacking some picks. And they know how to play the meta stuff, and some of that picks on the other side, like Hera, isn't thriving as she should right now because the Raijin is the early aggressor, but Hera's got a level lead. I want to see more. As we see it, Fenrir blinks in, he grabs the Hera. Hera's shields out. Argus drops from the sky.
Ganesha all out, and we see the Fenrir go ahead and pick up that kill as well as we see a Ganesh or a Gilgamesh ult used as well. So great collapsing. It's kind of they're doing the opposite of what we want here. We said Bargain Bunch needs to kind of group up, push this early lead that they have, this early team comp, and clearly Hacking is actually the ones going all in at the very early game. What do we want from Bargain Bunch here? It seems like they're playing more safe as we see a Thanatos ult come up into the air. I don't know if dropping on it is the best idea, as he immediately gets deleted.
I think the big difference is Bargain Bunch isn't playing as a unit. It may be because they have 2 subs. We didn't really touch on it in going to the draft. But clearly Hacking, this is a team that's been practicing together. Juicy's the only kind of sub onto this team for right now. And KY might also be a sub. I don't recognize the name. Could be a name change. But, you know, at the end of the day, Hoi, they're playing their comfort picks. They're going to run it down on you, clearly Hacking. Bargain Bunch just needs to play together. They got we got a big ults, we got squares, we got circles, we got executes, we got more circles, and a horse. They want to run it down. They want to just fight as a team, and they're not really grouping up as a team like clearly Hacking is.
Yeah, I definitely think the grouping is better from clearly Hacking. I do want to see Bargain Bunch group more together to push off of one person. One person picks and rotate. They have the ability to burn objectives after they get picks or even force people out. It's not necessarily going all in for a kill, but just getting, enough damage off to get those picks, to push a Gold Fury, to push a Fire Giant is enough to sway the game. And if you can snowball like that with the team comp that they have, with getting that Thanatos up, with getting the Hera up to drop Argus, I think they have a chance to come back in this game. I mean, it's far from over. But it does look like they are grouping a little better in this mid with a 3v3 fight here. I am curious to see how this goes. The Hachiman it looks like the XP difference is pretty similar. It's about even. The gold difference is only 1,200, so nothing out of the realm of possibility to come back. It is very early. I do want to see the Hachiman show some more aggression onto this mask pick with the Thanatos. I think Thanatos and Hou can burn at least a beads or a jump and push out that as we see a fight here going for the oracles. I don't see much else coming of it.
Yeah, I don't see the fight going on too much. But Fenrir going Blackthorn Hammer, that's, as Rosie was hovering earlier, that's a little weird for a support, but when you're the Fenrir and you're aggressing like you are on this team, I would go Blackthorn Hammer and try to run it down in their face.
Yeah, personally, I like the Blackthorn Hammer early game with Fenrir's support, because if you can get ahead, as we do see an Argus ult come out into a Ganesh ult, are they going to pick him up? It doesn't look like Argus is going to do enough damage, as we see a Gilgamesh ult come out as well. And it looks like they're going to trade the support. Fenrir does go down, as well as the Hera, as well as the Thanatos from Juicy. They're pushing into this Phoenix, and they're going to go onto the Ganesha. Ganesha throws out his silence. The Xingqian does ult, but he ults the Raijin closer to Ganesha and stuns him, but it looks like everybody else is going to get out of this fight. So I think that's a great fight from clearly Hacking.
Yeah, I agree. I think clearly Hacking had a great fight there. Bargain Bunch, they dropped their ults together, but there was really no follow-up. Their problem is the other team can just walk out of that ult and not care. If you're going to Ganesh ult a Fenrir, you have to silence him, make him walk out personally. As clearly Hacking gets this Gold Fury, it's not looking great for Bargain Bunch. I hope they can get some of this synergy more together, get the fights together. Ganesh, Argus on top of it, but do it on targets that can't really escape. And there's not many on the other side that can't escape except an RDO. Maybe go over to the solo lane and do it again. I don't see another way you can really trap anyone without having a silence dropped on top of them.
Yeah, I do agree. The XP difference is still pretty minute. Everybody's close to the same level here, but the gold difference does transfer into items. It's not massive right now, but 2,500 gold, could be another item or another tier 1 of an item that can give you enough of a power spike to change a fight. I do think that clearly hacking the grouping from them has been impeccable, and that does make sense if they have been playing together. They have had the scrims, and Bargain Bunch is playing with 2 subs, as we do see a Ganesh and an Argus ult come out that does pick off the Raijin. And it looks like they are going to dive this Fenrir and pick up the Fenrir as well. So, just like we said, Bargain Bunch grouping turns into 2 kills. Sun, did you see anything that clearly hacking could have done from the mid lane and the support to avoid that?
Not really. Raijin walked over to the left side. They were waiting there. When he jumped over, the Ganesh ult came down. That's what they needed to do. They need to bait out some escapes and do that combo. The Ganesh into the Hera on top of it. As we see the Soul Lane getting collapsed on, the RDO gets knocked up. The silence from Thanatos misses.
It does look like he's going to get out of there unscathed. So with the RDO pick, very safe pick here. They've tried a couple ganks there, and they have not worked, but it does look like they're going to go ahead and drop this Fire Scorp. So again, the grouping from Bargain Bunch, really picked up in this mid game, and it shows. Clearly hacking definitely showed the early game pressure, the early game presence. They won very hard in the early game, but like we had said, the grouping was going to be a big factor in here, especially with 2 subs. So how do we feel about clearly hacking now that they're kind of, I wouldn't say shook, but definitely took a punch, to say so.
They took a punch, but they still got the Fenrir. They got the Gilgamesh. As you see, Gilgamesh gets a 2-man drop kick. Argus is dropped from the sky, and they get a Hera pick. That doesn't look good for Bargain Bunch. That is some of the consequences of going Hera. But Gilgamesh, great rotation. He caught the Hera out in space. The Fenrir used his ult at the right time, in my opinion. It's not looking good for Bargain Bunch at times when they're fighting. It looks like after the stuff, they forget about positioning. After you get the stuff, you need to understand that your team's no longer grouped because some of them are backed. You might be by yourself, and you get caught out like that, you're not going to have a lot of help.
I definitely agree there. The grouping is there, but positioning, there's a difference between grouping and positioning. You can't all just be grouped up in one spot because, like you said, the Gilgamesh ult, the Hou Yi ult, dropping Raijin, the taunt, the damage. But I will say that the fighting has looked better from Bargain Bunch in this late game. I am curious to see how this first Fire Giant fight goes, as Fire Giant is up. I think if you are clearly hacking, you do play for a pick here. And if you're Bargain Bunch, I think you play safe until clearly hacking makes a mistake. I think you're playing for them to make a mistake that you capitalize on. And then that's when you go for the Fire Giant as well.
Broski's just stole the purple.
He did just steal the purple. What a great steal on the purple. I mean, that's what we want, though. We wanted them showing that aggression, and it's working out for them as of right now, especially in the ADC role. But there is no picks, nothing of that sort here. It looks like the Ganesh and Hera are just kind of staying in the mid lane. Juicy is showing face in mid lane with Thanatos there. Fenrir is kind of out of position here with a half health as he picks up his own support buff. It looks like they might be trying to make a play for Fire Giant. Is this the correct call for the Bargain Bunch right now?
I think you just keep grouping, but I don't think Fire Giant, 15 minutes in, you have to win a fight drastically. Like the other team didn't even put up a fight with the comp you have. Hera doesn't really shred it. Hachimon's not on that side of the map. You can't really shred it without that Hachimon. So maybe drastically winning that fight, like you have to kill the Hera. You got to kill the RDO. You got to kill the Gilgamesh, Raijin, and Fenrir, and not lose a lot of HP. Like combined, you probably can only lose 1,000 HP combined. So I think right now the main objective is going to be this Gold Fury, Primal Fury. If you win it drastically, there's a chance you go for higher, but I think Gold Fury is the most close prize you can get right now.
Gold Fury is definitely the safer option of the two, especially if it gets stolen like Roski just stole the purple buff. So I do want to see how it looks like the Fenrir might be out of position here a little bit, but is not going to pay the price for it. I do like the zoning from him, and we're curious to see how this Gold Fury fights. Everybody is grouped up here. So if between these two teams, Son, who makes the first move here? Who shows the initiation?
I think if you're clearly hacking, you got to make the first move as he jumps in. He gets the Fenrir ult onto the Ganesha.
Ganesha does ult, and the Hera ult does come down with the Raijin ult here. Looks like Gilgamesh is going to have to back out of this fight, as well as the Fenrir. They are showing pressure. The Thanatos is going up into the air. The blink comes down from Gilg, and the Thanatos does miss the ult. Ooh, that feels bad. Well, pick right there almost guarantees you the Primal Fury, as Gilgamesh does ult just to get out of harm's way. So who takes that fight there? I mean, you don't get any picks from either team. Everybody's relatively going to come back. Is that a win for the Bargain Bunch, or is that win for Clearly Hacking?
It's a win for whoever gets his pick when this fight's going on the second wave of the fight going on. Raijin jumps in. He hits his 2 onto the Ganesha. Hera gets the nice polymorph onto the Raijin. Raijin ults with no HP. He goes down. That's a double kill for the Xingqian.
Xingqian does pick up that double kill here, but are they healthy enough for this Gold Fury? Does look like with everybody going back to it, they are, and they are going to pick up that Gold Fury for free. So great job from the Bargain Bunch. The picks, especially, I think it's Dom. Yeah, Dom is playing that solo lane for them, and that Xingqian. That was a great initiation by them. With the Gold Fury being taken and Bargain Bunch, like we had said, grouping a lot better in this mid to late game than they were early game. How do you come back from this being Clearly Hacking? Who do you play through to try to get back into this game?
It's 18 minutes in. I think that reinitiating fight there was not the play. You didn't have to go for that fight. You just do a lot of poke with the Raijin. You can stay safe. Don't jump in. That costs 2 members of your team a life and a Gold Fury. As Fenrir ults here, and Argus is dropped from Hera, and he doesn't even get the beads from. Yeah, he gets the beads from Hera. That's it. That's a nice play from the Fenrir.
Yeah, that's it. He does get the beads. So, in the second fight when they group, which I assume is going to be the Fire Giant, Hera won't have those beads and will be able to be kind of singled out here. And I think, from my standpoint, I think that's where you go on this fire, as Thanatos has to ult just to get out of harm's way. So Fenrir playing Amish playing great right there. Gets out the Thanatos ult as he dives back in, and the Ganesh ult comes out, and Juicy does pick up the Thanatos. So I spoke a little too soon, as Jing does pick up the Gilgamesh here, and Belt of Frenzy is popped. As well as the Fire Giant. They're tanking Fire Giant. The Ganesha Silence comes out. RDO is just trying to kind of peel for everybody here. That RDO is very tanky.
Hey, so, I think that's a win for the Clearly Hacking side. They got the beats from Hera. They got the ult from Thanatos, even though he came back down and Juicy paid his life for it. But your Hera with no beads, she doesn't have a CC immune ult. So the next time Fenrir looks her way, she's getting gobbled up like a treat. And Raijin, he's a jealous man. He might want that treat as well.
Yeah, Amish with 2 great plays right there back to back to get the Thanatos ult. I know Juicy did die from it, but they do trade with the Thanatos. Getting the beads from Hera is a big deal because, like we said, they are going to try to group on this Fire Giant. And this first Fire Giant is going to be a big one, as RDO and the Jing are kind of just boxing each other out. Jing is going to back here. Again, Clearly Hacking this game has been a roller coaster so far. It looks like Clearly Hacking is grouping better at the very early. Then Bargain Bunch also comes through and shows, as a Raijin ult does come down, it does burn the Aegis, but Amish is going to pick it up as a Ganesh ult comes out as well. The blink in from Thanatos, and Raijin does get out with a double stun from Amish. Again, another great play from Amish. The Raijin gets out, he does hit the double stun with his passive setup. And again, another great fight from Clearly Hacking. If you're Bargain Bunch, how do you go about this?
You just need to make sure they don't get the big ejected fire. If they're going for pyro, you don't have to necessarily fight for it. You can let it go, but that's not the end of the day. But when you're looking for the Fire Giant, you can't let them have it. Hachiman here split pushing. That's another way to go about it. I would take the tower, try to pull another person off from the Fire Giant side, and make them stop you from taking tier 2. If you get both, and they only get a pyro, that's a net positive. And when you return to that fight, you're going to be even more fed.
I do agree, and it does come back to Amish pulling the beads off of Hera that wins that fight for them, in the second one, and they're letting Hachi just kind of free farm over there, and he is up. I know it's not a ton of a lead, but he's getting free reign to rotate, take these objectives as he does back, and we have a fight going on here with a Jing Chen ult for double, but they're going to all 5 collapse onto this Jing with the Ganesh ult as well, and it looks like Thanatos gets pulled off from the Fenrir, and he does pick up the Artio with the ult there. The Gilgamesh ult does come out as Ganesha is kind of stuck in there with a Ho Yi ult, and Jimmy does pick up Ganesha, but Ganesha, BM Mask, and Loshak both fall in that fight. As Argus comes out, it doesn't look like they're done here. Thanatos is in kind of a rough spot, but he does get out. If I'm Bargain Bunch, you might try the fire here. I mean, you have your ADC up, you have the Guardians. Is that the correct call here?
You have no health on your tanks. If your tanks had more HP, I would say go for it. But I think tier 2 mid tower may be a safer call. Maybe getting your soul lane just a back to get to Fire Giant while you push the tier 2 might be a good call. Gold Fury is also about to spawn. Maybe they pull that instead of having their soul laner. Them 3 alone can do it, the Gold Fury. But them 3 alone can't do the Fire Giant. So I like this call. Gold Fury spawning right now. They're going to pick this Gold Fury up. Rising at the red buff. I think you have to let the Gold Fury fall. You just farm up, get your team. None of you are level 20 yet. So get to level 20. But also from that fight, Xing Shen, he was tanking for forever. Hera and Hachi were not even on that side of the map. They were able to rotate before the 5 of clearly hacking could burst Dom down. And that's not a good sign if you're clearly hacking.
Yeah, I do agree. The Jing Chen pick, it definitely does cause some problems for the clearly hacking bunch, as we do see a fight over this purple buff. And we're going to see, looks like BM Mask wants to try to secure this purple buff, and Roski is just going to kind of back off here. So again, back to that, I do think the Jing Chen pick is a great pick into this, as Thanatos does have to ult just to get out of harm's way again. Ganesha is going to silence, and they're going to dive as they do hit the Fenrir, but the Gilgamesh ult does come out, and a Ganesh ult, and the Argus is dropped as well. Nobody really picked off yet, as a Ganesh silence does come out. That Argus is just running people down right now, as they're going to have to peel back for the Artio dives back in. Achi is there and does pick up Jimmy, and they do pick up the Loshak on the Artio. So another great fight from Bargain Bunch, as it doesn't look like it's stopped yet up in the top corner here. And they are going to pick up Amish as well. So, son, now with 3 members down, you look at the Fire Giant this time, right?
You got your Hunter over there now. Your tanks are healthy. Yeah, your Hera can't stay in the fire pit, but all her abilities goes through walls. Just stand on the backside of the wall. As the Ganesh gets jumped on by the Raijin and the Hou Yi, that's one down. And the Hou Yi gets another. Doesn't look like he can get another. Whew.
But still a great... Oh, they do end up picking up the Fire Giant. I was going to say, Raijin did a great job holding them off that Fire Giant, but they stuck it out. So you do trade your support for a Fire Giant, which I think that's a great trade. Now that Bargain Bunch does have this Fire Giant, what objective, what tower are you looking to push here?
If I'm looking to push any tower, I think you go from left to right, or you can go right to left. I think right to left is probably a safer call, because on the right side, that's closer to Fire Giant. If you go all the way to the left and you get a team wipe on the left side of the map, you get that left Phoenix, or it might be game, or you get a left Phoenix if they lose 2, maybe 3 members, and now they have to defend the left Phoenix while you can do a Fire Giant dance with them. And they're not going to win that salsa dance.
I do think that the draft pick that we talked about, it comes more of like the Hera, it's a comfort pick. The Achi, it's a comfort pick. Jing isn't really a meta pick right now, but he is very good, especially in the solo lane. And we do see, and now that everybody is online, Bargain Bunch with these picks that they do feel comfortable with, it's simply putting, it's just playing better right now than Clearly Hacking. Clearly Hacking does have what you would consider, a couple meta picks. How does Clearly Hacking go about using these picks that are considered strong in these team fights? What are we prioritizing here?
You got to prioritize defender jumping in. I think Juicy's getting demolished when he jumps in there. I I think Juicy needs to wait a little longer jumping in on some of these fights. He's playing really well when he times it right, but the last few fights he hasn't timed it right and he gets blown up when he lands. Then Audio can't do the damage that a jungler can, and neither can a Fenrir who's a support player. I like this wrapping around from Juicy, but he's jumping in. Zingshin's gonna ult him to the backline, but Juicy beads.
We do see the Jingxian ult come out and the Gilgamesh ult come out, but nothing else happens there. And it does look like they're taking your advice here, going from that left to right side. Going to try to pick up this third tower here, this third tier 2 tower here. Do we regroup here after this if you're Bargain Bunch, or do you try to push a Phoenix with the little bit of Fire Giant that you have left, the way you are playing right now?
You still have about a minute left on fire, so I think you can dance around, do poke wars, and you'll heal up from the fire giant. Ryzen just jumping away there, but you can see that they're dancing right now for this tier 2. Clearly Hacking doesn't want to give it up, but Ardio gets caught out, and that's an Ardio down.
Roski is diving here. The Ganesh ult does come out here to try to save. And it does work. It looks like they're going to pick up Jimmy with this Argus as well. So another great fight from Bargain Bunch. It looks like one of them was going to drop there really quick, but the Ganesh ult and the Ganesh silence does save him, and they do pick up another kill here. Now, do you push for this Phoenix and try to end, or are we going for the Phoenix and Fire Giant here?
You're going to go Phoenix here. And if clearly Hacking plays their hand wrong, then you go for the end. But otherwise, you just go for both Phoenixes. You get 2, maybe 3 Phoenixes. If you get all 3, you can call that a day. They're going to have to fight you at the next Fire Giant. Be ready for it. But otherwise, 2 Phoenixes down. Ardio's coming back up shortly. I think you just reset here. Your fire's almost over. I would not like to see this Bargain Bunch push this left Phoenix. I think you back up, take gold, reset, and then get ready for the next Fire Giant.
I agree. This next Fire Giant is huge, especially for clearly Hacking here, who's kind of playing with on the ropes here. They started out fantastic in the early game, and they're not struggling per se, but it does seem like the comms might be an issue of target prioritization. It kind of seems like they're just free casting on everybody, as Bargain Bunch is going to take the Primal for free. The gold difference did start out in clearly Hacking's favor, but now we have almost an 11k gold difference and a 17k XP difference. So we talked about it before. Has anything changed as far as the idea behind the 2 drafts? Are we still grouping for that pick at Bargain Bunch? Are we still going all in on one target with clearly Hacking, or are we trying something different now that we're in this late game?
Well, going all in has not worked. From Bargain Bunch, if you go all in, you're trapped in a cage or a wall from Ganesha. You're getting also ulted by Zingshin, Thanatos ulted, Hera ulted. The comp is really synergizing, but at the same time, clearly Hacking is not fully working together on these picks. Like, Fenrir needs to be getting all these ults out. I think you wait for him to get all the ults. You don't jump in. Because Ardio, like, if you lose your Fenrir who has somebody in his mouth, that ult might be delayed. But we see Bargain Bunch here grabbing this Pyromancer. Ardio tried to go for the steal there,
but it doesn't work out, and the Ganesh silence does come out. Hera is there as well, but it does look like the Ardio is going to get out of there unscathed. So it was a great effort from Loshak. I see the idea behind it. It was just a second late there on trying to pick up that Pyro, trying to get whatever you can, just, kind of increase the morale. You take a Pyro, you've been losing a couple team fights in a row after having such an early game. I definitely think mental is one, as we do see Amish getting kind of caught out here, and he is going to fall to the Hachiman. So, like we had said, the grouping is better, but Juicy is on this Thanatos. Thanatos is hitting the silence and is going to ult. And is he going to try to confirm this kill here? He's a little ahead of everybody and drops back in. Ganesh silence, and they do pick up the Ardio as well.
Clearly Hacking, their players aren't grouped up as well as the others. Ryzen gets into the ult after the polymorph comes out from Hera. And that's another down. That's 3 down. That could be game.
Yeah, I don't think you go for the fire here. I think you just run it down this right side here and call game. It's going to be a tough task for Mask and Jimmy just to hold them. I mean, Hou Yi does have his ult, but it can only last for so long, as Ganesh does ult the Mask. and they are diving this Titan, and it does look like it's gonna fall. So game one, definitely, like I said before, a roller coaster there. Clearly, Hacking starts out with a great lead, and Bargain Bunch just seems, they have the comp better, even with the subs and everything that they have going on. So if you are Clearly Hacking, how do you bounce back, and what are we looking at to play here and possibly ban for the game two?
Well, I took a look at the Bills right before we left the game when we were watching them play. I realized that the jungler and the support from Clearly Hacking did not have any anti-crit from Roski's 2 crit items. I think you could tell from the front line on the other side who had Spectral, they were not getting shredded as hard as the RDO and the Fenrir and the Gilgamesh. They would just walk in and die. If if I'm Clearly Hacking, I would group up a little bit more and try to fight. Like fight as a unit, but at the same time, don't get caught out. Like a lot of times after one of them would get picked, that's when your damage dealers would show up. And Hera got a reset of abilities. Xingqian probably still hasn't ulted. It it's more of you got to group up if you're Clearly Hacking, because then you can win the game. They were always a few times just shy of helping each other out. Ryzen was in the fights a lot with his teammates, but BMS wasn't there sometimes. And you saw that at the end of the day, that Ganesha, when one person would get jumped on from Bargain Bunch, you saw it was 5 people trying to save Private Ryan out there.
Yeah, I do agree. I don't know if the idea was like just not respecting the Hachiman pick, but I mean, look at it. He's 5-0-6 on the first game here, as well as Dom coming in and playing solo lane with this Jing Chen as a 4-0-9. So I don't know if you can look at banning a Jing Chen in this meta that they have going on right now, but I definitely think some things need to change from Clearly Hacking. I'm sorry, excuse me, from Clearly Hacking in the team fight situation. Ethan, do you have anything else as far as this game one is concerned about what Clearly Hacking needs to do to step it up in game two?
Not really. I think we can just take it out of here. This was game one of Bargain Bunch and Clearly Hacking.
And welcome back to the set between Clearly Hacking and Bargain Bunch. Son of Two Dog, after that first game there, what do we want to see from the picks and bans phase from both teams?
I want to see Clearly Hacking understand that the other team is just going straight comfort picks. Let them go their comfort picks, maybe leave some things open. Ban some of their comfort picks away, and then grab even more OP stuff. Or if you're not comfortable on it, because the other team is going straight comfort, that's their bet. They're going to give you their best. Maybe you look at something that maybe Bargain Bunch is going to grab number one pick here. Maybe have people counter it and camp that person. They picked Hera. You should have picked a comp that just jumped on Hera the entire game.
And we do see the Artemis ban come out first, which is pretty standard in the picks and bans phase, and an Odin ban as well. What else do we want to see banned here after we see the Tiamat as well, which are all normal bans from this ban phase? What do we want to see the second and third bans from both teams here?
Clearly hacking, I think they need to ban something that they're not comfortable playing against. If it was the Hera, if it was the Ganesha, because we saw the Bargain Bunch, they're not afraid to throw anything into their picks, their top 2 spots. I never thought I would see a Hera top 2 picked. Nowadays, she was top 2 picked. So, and you see a Hell banned away from Clearly Hacking, they're
We do
still thinking that the other team's going to go top meta. I don't know after that, after game one.
And if you are Clearly Hacking and we see the On Her come out as a third ban, back to the question, if you are Clearly Hacking, do you go with these meta picks that you played last game? Or do you go with something like Bargain Bunch has and play something that you all are comfortable on if there's something that you're more comfortable on than these, what everybody considers a meta pick in the game right now?
I would love to see BMS go to his traditional time. Like he's super solid on that pick. Let him run it. Let him run it down Roski's face. Like get a dual lane that's gonna beat Bargain Bunch. But on the reverse hand, if you're Bargain Bunch, I think you just keep going your same picks. Nonstop, just keep going the same picks that you were going. It worked game one. Game 2, if it doesn't work, then you'd make the adjustment. Make Clearly Hacking adjust for whatever you're gonna pick. As Clearly Hacking
Argus,
back
to my
bans
side.
Persephone. And then you just see the Hera locked right back in for Bargain Bunch. It worked game 1. She got picked out a few times, but that's Hera. You're gonna get picked out every so often. I like to pick from Bargain Bunch. Just run back the draft.
You might like the pick, but I am
Wisdom
at a
shall be
loss
my
for
shield.
words right now. I mean, especially like you, I know Athena isn't,
Wisdom
considered the
shall be
best
my
guardian in the
shield.
game, but at this level is a very easy guardian to play and does have a great kit to peel off and engage at the same time. But that Hera first pick, I mean, it did do the damage that you needed it to, but with all the options available and that's something that you want to play, do you go somewhere else or do you lock that Hera in or do you try to take something else that's, considered better?
If I'm Bargain Bunch, make them play the best picks. Last game, they showed that they're not as good as you when you're playing comfort picks. And then you see the Fenrir locked in here. The Fenrir did a great job taking care of Hera, but now Athena helps her out, or helps out Fenrir at pulling the beads away from Hera. Last game, it was Fenrir trying to pull the beads, and then you had maybe Ardia, you had maybe Hoi getting in there and capitalizing on it. So you had a time window where you had to wait for the Fenrir ult to get back up to capitalize on Hera not having beads. This game, I like that adjustment. I like the Athena. I like the Fenrir being picked up because it can burn the beats. As you see a Hachi lock in here, I wouldn't be surprised if I see a Thanatos locked in here. Just run back your draft, Bargain Bunch.
I have a hot take here. I'm saying that Juicy's playing that Athena in the jungle, and he's gonna be a Fenrir in support.
I will leave
Yeah,
standing
last
no
game, I saw
barrier to
Amish on that
our
Fenrir. He didn't
success.
look bad on it. Juicy, he loves tanky junglers. And I know he loves the Kabrakan. It still gives me nightmares last season. Now you see the Ganesh popped out from Bargain Bunch. They didn't lock in the Thanatos. I'm upset they didn't do the same draft order they did last time. But they're going to run the same thing. I'm pretty sure you banned the Thanatos because it made that draft work. And then you see the Chalk locked in with the Clearly Hacking. I'm lost for this one. Clearly Hacking has been showing that they're going to run top meta stuff. Now you got the Chalk locked in. Are they stooping down to the Bargain Bunch level? I'm ready to see this.
Yeah, it does look like, the Bargain Bunch is gonna bring back their original team. Are if you're clearly hacking, do you waste a ban on the Thanatos or the Jing Chen here?
I think you might want to get rid of the Zing Shin. I think Thanatos can be replaced by a lot of junglers. Rat can do pretty much the same job. But if I'm Bargain Bunch, you got rid of On Her, who's one of BMS best picks. Now you get rid of Heim, another one of his good picks. I'm curious on what BMS is going to bring out. Hoi, I think, left a lot to be desired. And then the Thanatos ban from Clearly Hacking. You called that. I personally don't think you would ban it there because there's a lot more picks you can put into that spot. I think the Xingshin made the game a lot easier for Bargain Bunch. As you see, the Thoth hovered here. I think the Thoth is going to work really well with the Fenrir Athena. Not a lot of CC immune ults on the side of Bargain Bunch, and that's going to hurt when Athena taunts a Ganesha and a Hera.
I do like the Thoth pick actually here, especially from like you said, the Fenrir, the Athena, the Chalk all can also, stop everybody from using abilities, and we doesn't matter because they're gonna go ahead and lock in the Raishin.
They lock in the Raishin again, and it worked against the Hera pretty well. But you only switched out the Soul Laner and you switched out your jungler. Maybe Fenrir goes jungle, but the Guan Yu being locked in here, it seems like a Soul Lane that's not going to die after level 2. They're just going to sit there and beat each other up and then heal it all up, and then beat each other up and heal it all up. I'm curious on what this last pick's going to be. I want the Bargain Bunch to maybe go for another warrior. Like Osiris is still open, Gilgamesh, but Bargain Bunch is going to run what they think is best, and Loki is what they think is best. I would be scared because Loki, you get trapped in the box of Gilgamesh of Ganesha, you're dead. You get trapped in that box, Loki ult on top of you, Guan Yu's going to chase you on his horse. They got 2 people with horses. The cavalry's incoming after you get out of that box. But on the other hand, Rom, he can go up in the air inside the box and be safe. I like the adjustments clearly hacking made. They went the 2 picks I think was the right picks in the last draft. The Athena, Chalk, and Rom. Rom I like because you can go into the air if Loki's on you and still help your front line. I like clearly hacking's adjustments. My money would be on clearly hacking here.
Yeah, I do agree with the clearly hacking picks that they kept. Fenrir and the Ryzen both played. I mean, that's assuming that it is a Fenrir support. Ryzen and Fenrir both did play well. But with, like you said, Bargain Bunch, they played their comfort picks. And I think the three that they kept are probably the best three to have. I know you don't have the Thanatos to execute, but the Loki is there. Jingchen did play fantastic, but Damon Guan Yu is also just as a formidable foe as well. What are the win conditions here for each team through these drafts?
Win conditions, I think clearly hacking, I think has a better dual lane. If Fenrir's going support, even Athena going support, I think they have a better dual lane. I want them to run it down and not just give up after like a few levels and then start trying to transition to mid lane. Here, I like to see mid lane and ADC benefit from what they're trying to do. Chalk is just going to stall out lane with Guan Yu. It's going to be a giant, I'm going to hit you, you're going to hit me, we're going to heal it all up. Jungle, however, if it's Athena versus Loki, Athena can out rotate the Loki. I think Fenrir gets out rotated by a Loki, but Fenrir's going to out rotate the Ganesha. So I think clearly hacking is going to have better rotation if Athena's jungle and Fenrir's is the support. That's why I don't think your hot take is as hot as you think it is. Maybe you can chill it out.
I do think, personally, that Bargain Bunch does have a little bit better of a draft, especially after seeing, Roski on this Hachiman. But it all comes down to grouping again, I think. Is there anything you want to see different from clearly hacking in these team fights?
I want to see them more grouped up. Don't Amish don't step up too hard on in some of these games because he was getting caught out a little bit where Juicy would jump in there and cost his life because Fenrir's tanky because he's the support player. He can get out, but Juicy was getting caught out because he was trying to help the Fenrir, and then they had no follow up behind that. Now they have the Athena, so if one of them's getting caught out, Athena's ulting in, and it could be 100% damage immunity for the Chalk when he's getting ulted by the Athena, and then maybe you go on Oni, you don't take any damage. And then Hera, not going to take that much damage. And then we're going to get right into game here.
All right, and it does look like we have the Athena in the support, and Jimmy is on the Fenrir. So my hot take was not correct, but it was worth a shot. With that, like you said, how do we see the rotations coming then from Fenrir out of the jungle and Athena support? Do we still have the same idea here?
I think Fenrir's going to get out rotated a little bit, but I don't think it's that bad compared to a Loki. Loki's just going to go invis and go all around the jungle and get XP faster than Fenrir can. But I would have loved. I didn't think your hot take was hot take, but now it's a hot take because you were wrong.
Hey, we got to be wrong sometimes, But it does look like we have a little bit of fighting going on in the middle lane, just kind of dancing around here, not really showing too much aggression here. It does look like they are going to go and try to pick up those side harpies there. And they're just going to trade side harpy for side harpy here. So, another slow start to the game here. It does look like clearly hacking does have pressure again on this duo lane early game, which is what we saw last time. Do we play through the duo lane this game? Do you try to force the objective of the duo lane and let Mask kind of carry you to a win here?
I think you play through the dual lane and try to have Mass carry you through the game, but I also want to highlight that the Guan Yu also went tier 1 mace with Warrior Axe. I traditionally don't think that's a great build for a soul laner to go. I think Fighter's Mask, even going Warrior's Axe and then getting like a Chalice, I think is a lot better than going Mace. Mace to me makes it seem like you're going to go more damage, and that might cost you your life a few times because you won't have the protections.
Yeah, I agree. I never would think about that. As we do see, maybe it works out because Loki does pick up Loshak on this chalk, and Fenrir is going to get out as well. So, you know, we were just talking about this duo lane and this solo lane and we were proven wrong. Loki with a great gank to go ahead and pick up this low shack. And something you don't want to see is a Guan Yu that's ahead, especially if he's going to start building damage.
That cavalry charge is going to do a lot of damage to that chalk until he gets to level 5.
Absolutely. But
But
like we said,
I
we do
also
see.
want
Go ahead. Absolutely.
I want to point out that this dual lane is also like they're getting pressured out. That's a great trade for the bargain bunch. Bargain bunch is now pushing the solo lane side as clear hacking is shoving it down the dual lane side. That's what you need to do for me from clearly hacking. You need to get BM Mask ahead here. But now you can't really forget about your solo laner because you haven't got a kill in the dual lane to offset the death from your chalk. So you can't let the Guan Yu spiral out of control.
Right. I agree. And they did go ahead and steal the purple off of Bargain Bunch here, and they're going to go back to there. So they do have, you know, the small lead that they have, but what we wanted from them is pushing that duo lane. As we see, you know, the gold difference is only at 5-10, but we're 3 minutes into the game. So I do agree with what you say as far as the duo lane. Is there anything else that clearly hacking needs to do to try to push the lead that they're gaining in this duo lane?
Maybe look for a pick. Your Fenrir is going to have ult soon. Or he has ult right now. Excuse me. I think you go for this. Like, you need to get this Ganesha. Ganesha doesn't have a CC immune ult, and he didn't go beads. So, take advantage of this. As we see Loki looking here onto the dual lane side, he ults the Athena.
And they go ahead and pick up the Athena. So maybe a little bit too aggressive there without having your jungle there. You don't know where the Loki is. And again, we see Bargain Bunch just the grouping better. Is what do we need to change here if you're clearly hacking?
Clearly, hacking had the wards. They should have saw him incoming. But Athena ults in, and Ryzen's going to jump in, and the Argus ult does not land before he dies. That is a great kill from Clearly Hacking. Clearly Hacking needs to make these picks. Finner's getting out-rotated here a little bit. It's the invisibility from Loki. Maybe he was right in the right spot not to be seen going over another ward. Great rotation from Stepdad, and then an even better response from Clearly Hacking to get that pick onto the Hera. They need to try to keep finding these picks, in my opinion, to push a lead somewhere. I think mid lane is now where you need to start trying to focus, but also keep it on the dual lane side of the map.
Yeah, we see Mask. You know, I think Mask is one of the best ADCs in the RSL as far as mechanics wise. So you know, getting him ahead would be the idea. But with this Ryzen pick into this Hera, getting Ryzen ahead too isn't a bad idea. Which one are we going to prioritize more here if we are clearly hacking? Since you got the kill in the mid lane.
I think you prioritize the Hunter because Ryzen, the kills are going to come eventually. You got the Fenrir. She's going to overstep. Hera doesn't really have a great escape, but I also don't think you prioritize too much. I think you prioritize their buffs. Make Loki fight team fights with your Fenrir. I think Fenrir can out team fight a Loki, but also if Loki's unchecked, he can out team fight your entire team. So I think as a team base, I think clearly hacking needs to focus more on the left side of the jungle.
Now,
I think Ryzen's gonna get kills onto this Hera.
you keep talking about picks, like we need to get picks here and there. If you are clearly hacking, who do you try to pick up here if you're going to try to force a pick into this fight?
Ganesha, and Hera. Right? If you're gonna look for a fight, like, or even getting a Hachiman ult. If you get a Hachiman ult, that left side of the map until he gets ult back is free real estate. As Loki and Viz tries to go into the Ryzen, but nothing really comes out of it as the Argus is dropped.
Argus is dropped, but again, it doesn't look like anything's going to come out of it. And I do want to point out that the Guan Yu didn't finish anything on that mace, but we do see a Fenrir ult come out, and he does pick one up into a Ganesha ult, and the Raijin Drums is going to go ahead and pick up that Athena. So a great fight there. But again, I want to bring back that the Guan Yu has 2 unfinished items now. Where do we see as Loki is going to go ahead and finish that kill as well?
Honestly, I think I don't remember your question, but at the end of the day, I think clearly hacking, the fight was there. You can see what they're going to do in team fights. The Athena is going to get the beads. Fenrir's going to capitalize that on it. Last game, Fenrir, as the support player, had no one else to trade the beads. And Guan Yu here, not finishing the mace, going into probably a breastplate, which I think is better than finishing that mace. But I do think he needs to finish that mace after the breastplate he's probably going to go into here.
My question is, if you're gonna do that, why don't you just go the fighter's mask start?
Well, if you go the fighter mask start, I agree is much better, but maybe he doesn't want fighter's mask. Maybe he doesn't want to sell the fighter's mask. Maybe he's stubborn. I like the idea of going the mace if he has a better plan with it. Maybe he's going to go 40% cooldown in the first 2 items, and then as he gets caught out in the solo lane side, I think that mace is not paying the dividends that he wants it to pay.
We do see Argus come out, but again, not going to pick up that Raijin there, so the Hera ult is down. And we see Athena going to go ahead and dive in, as well as that Fenrir, and the drums come out from Raijin again with a Ganesh ult, and they are going to pick up the Hera again, and Fenrir does grab the Ganesh, but falls to the Loki. So I like the idea there behind it. How do we capitalize on that Fenrir ult if you are clearly hacking after you pick up the Hera?
Honestly, when he picked up the Hera, I think Fenrir ulted to try to get the Hera, but then the Hera died. So he picked up the Ganesha. That should tell him right there that he doesn't have beats either. So you can look at picking both of them at the same time. Run it down at their face. Like, I think they're making the right adjustments here. I said go for BM Mass, but they're running it down in mid lane. And it looks like it's starting to work out. They got they had 2 levels on their support lane, but it's not really working out in the jungle as much. But if Jimmy's going to start ulting off right after the Athena, then Hera's never going to have beads. Ganesha's never going to have beads. And it's going to start causing a lot of problems for this mid 3v3.
I do hate to bring this up again, but we do see the Guan Yu finish the breastplate there and buys another defensive item before doing anything with that mace. So, we talked about the plan that you were supposed to have before. Why go the Enchanted Kasari instead of, finishing an item on that mace?
Maybe he's saving it to go anti-heal for team fights, but at the end of the day, like, you should just go fighter's mask. I think you have nothing's wrong with going fighter mask there than going pesty. If he's trying to go divine, then he's only trying to divine one person. Divine Brawler's beat stick on one person, and that's Chop. Really, no one on the other team has healing outside of lifesteal that Rom has. Hunter's Count. That's not a lot of healing anyway. You're not really anti-healing, as we see a Fenrir ult and a Hachiman ult come out.
It does seem like that's going to be the end of the fight there unless we want to engage. And it does seem like they are going to just kind of back off here, kind of dancing around. We do see 2 wards come out, 1 from each team. And it does look like this Loki is trying to look for something here. I'm not sure if that's such a great idea, but he is going to back off as we see a fight in the mid lane. The Argus does come down. The Taiko drums do come out as well. And are they going to pick up this Hera? They do pick up the Hera, and they're going to pick up that Ganesh as well. So you did say we wanted to see, the duo lane or the mid lane see priority, as Loki goes ahead and picks up a kill there and maybe make it out here. They are diving, but the Invis comes out, and he's still showing aggression. This Loki is playing crazy aggressive today, and he might have played too much, as we do see the Chalk ult come down, and he does finally get picked off. So if you are the bargain bunch, you do lose that fight and pick up the kill after you drop the Ganesh and the Hera. What are we doing after that? Because it seems like the Loki just kind of dove and
It looks
didn't
like they
know what to do.
reset. I don't like that call. Do the fort. If you're going to go over to the right lane, go for it. If you're going solo, go for it. If you really should have done Gold Fury, you picked the 3 people that can contest you. Hachiman really can't contest you. What is he going to try to steal with it? The banner? Why would he try to steal it with the banner when his ult's just coming back up? You had a big opportunity there as the dual lane pressures out there. They pressure out the Hachiman no ult. I think that's a really Clearly, Hacking is definitely stepping up their gameplay from game 1.
It seems to me that the comms, from what it looks like, are a little bit better than it was in a game 1, as they do go ahead and pick up that purple, and the big deal is force that Hachi ult out. So clearly Hacking, obviously playing a little bit better than they were that first game, grouping up. They're going to go ahead and take these oracles. Do you go straight into gold here? Or do we look for a pick here before you go into that gold fury?
I think you bait the Gold Fury here. If you can bait it right and you initiate on either the Ganesha or the Hera. Hera's beads are down for another 5. I don't see that's going to happen. She's going to have beads up for the next fight. Loki, however, will not have beads for the next fight. As you see, they're looking for the Hachiman on the left side. There goes the beads on Hachiman. And as another fight's going on in mid lane.
Argus is dropped, and we do see the Raijin drums come out, maybe just to kind of peel for himself. So we do see a Hera ult out, we do see the Hachi beads out, and we see the Raijin ult out. So who takes this fight at the next Gold Fury? Because it seems like that's, the next objective. As they are going to go ahead and dive in on this Ganesha here. The Loki goes ahead and gets back on that Raijin, but he's going to teleport out, and the Athena is there to save. So again, back to the question, you do have the Hera ult is down, the Raijin ult is down, the Loki ult is down, and you don't have the Hachi beads. Who are we giving the advantage to when they try to group up for this Gold Fury?
Well, Hachi beads are down. That's going to be a big thing, because if Athena can taunt before he ults, you might be able to catch out a Hera and a Hachiman. That means your backline is not really safe in this next fight. However, Ganesha can still stop the Fenrir from initiating. If he doesn't get out fast enough when he blinks in or he jumps in, he's just going to be standing there in a silence for 2 seconds. That could be enough time for your Hachi to get out, or is enough time for your Hera to polymorph him for more time in CC. I honestly think I like this pressuring coming out from the clearly Hacking on the dual lane side, and Hachiman might fall here. Ram's going to go into the sky.
They do hit the Achi, and Mask does pick off Roski on that Achi. So I do agree with, pushing the dual lane, but if you are Spin, why do you throw the Ganesha ult there? Unless it's just trying to block somebody, which I mean, you have to be pretty good to do that. Am I wrong?
Yeah, you're trying to block somebody, but at the same time, you throw your ult down. It stopped. Like, if Ram misses one more snipe there, Roski's walks out. He rocks out with no HP, but he's alive. For this next 14 seconds, you don't have Hachiman here. So it's up to you and now Hera and a Loki to try to defend off 4 people to do this from doing this Gold Fury.
And it does look like we are grouping for the Gold Fury here, just kind of dancing around, but it does look like clearly Hacking is going to show some aggression here and dive these two. But nothing comes of it as the Fenrir is jumping onto this Loki. And the blink from Athena and a taunt, but there is no follow-up to it. We do see a little bit of fighting in mid lane going on here, but I think they're going to go ahead and push back for this Gold Fury. I don't think anybody here is going to contest it at this point. If you are Bargain Bunch, is this something that you look at trying to steal here?
Yes, I think you look to try to steal it, and Shock is trying to zone off 2 here. He gets a gigantic ult off on 2.
And we do see clearly Hacking take not only the Gold Fury, but they do pick up the Loki as the Argus does come out just to kind of peel Chalk off of this Hera. So a good fight from clearly Hacking, and they do pick up the Gold Fury. With the lead that they have now, what's the next objective here? What are we pushing, to try to accomplish here with this lead?
Bargain Bunch, as Hera lazy backs, probably got caught store shopping when the Chalk gets the kill there. I think you look at the fort. You got to get the fort to get the other 2 big objectives. As I hear a Fenrir ult go off, and I see the Fenrir ult and the Athena ult coming in.
The Talos ult and Ganesha ult both come out just to get him out of there, which is a good move here. But they are going to go ahead and dive this tower. And no, it looks like they're actually just going to go ahead and back off. So you do get the Ganesh ult, you do get the Guan Yu ult out of there, but you do waste the Athena ult, and they are going to go after that Fire Scorp here. So with that little, 3v3 scrim here that we had going on, who wins that trade other than getting the Fire Scorp out of there?
Clearly Hacking, because you got stuff after the stuff. And the 2 ults that were expended to try to keep just the Guan Yu alive, that's huge value. Clearly Hacking is making plays that last game I think suffered a little bit from it. They didn't really have big impacts with just defender. I love that they changed this draft. They got the extra CC they needed to initiate. As ADCs here, just trade a little bit of poke, and nothing really comes out of it other than pressure for BMS.
I do agree with you here. I do like the draft that they had, like getting the extra CC they had to let that Ryzen kind of just free cast or have the peel for Ryzen to get away to do and sustain that damage. But I do want to see Mask rotate a little bit more. I know he's just kind of solo farming in that ADC, that duo lane. But with a lead like this, do you want to see Mask rotate more, or do you want to see him kind of just stay there and hard push that duo lane?
I want to see him rotate to get a big objective like Pyro or Fire. But I also want to point out that this Chalk has done double the damage of the next player besides Loki by 1k. So that's a lot of impact coming from your solo laner who has made 2 good rotations so far this game. And it's really paying dividends for him.
Yeah, I do agree with it. I know me and you both kind of didn't agree with the chalk pick at the very beginning, but Loshak does look very good on it and very comfortable with it. Which again, at this kind of level of play, that is a big deal, is having something that you're comfortable on. With that, I know they're around the same level, but I mean, he's just pouring out damage. Is that something, as we do see them dive Chalk and Loki dive, as the Chalk ult is not gonna find the Loki here. They are still chasing the Athena, but it might look like they get collapsed on here. The Guan Yu goes ahead and dashes. Loki will have to get out of here just because he's, already at half health. This Chalk is just full on diving. Does not care what is going on right now. And that brings me up to my next point, since this fight kind of fell off here. Loshak, I mean, he's pouring out damage. Is that somebody, I know we wanted to fight through the duo lane. I know Ryzen started to pop off there a little bit at the beginning, but do we fight through Loshak here?
I think you look to try to fight off of Loshak. At the same time, Chalk also falls off super hard
We
later
do
the
see a
game
Ryzen
goes.
blink. And Guan Yu is going to ult. And we do see the Argus come out here, as well as the Ganesha ult and Athena ult. And they are going to go ahead and pick up Jimmy, but Mask does pick up the Loki here. So another great rotation there. They're going to still fight here. This Ganesha is very low and does fall to Mask here, as they are going to keep diving here. And Mask does pick up the triple kill on Roski. So maybe, and Athena goes ahead and he's going to dive with a Rama ult, and it doesn't look like anybody's going to fall. This Ryzen is diving, and he does pick up Dom. So a 4-piece there. You take a 4-for-1 on Jimmy. So again, what we had just said, we want to see Mask rotate. Is there anything that Bargain Bunch could have done there? Because it kind of seemed like Mask just ran at people and never paid a price for it.
They keep expending their ult, I think, at the wrong time. Like, they're dropping the Ganesh ult when people are getting pressured. I think, personally, you need to look at some of the other ways of playing the game. Maybe you start doing the initiating instead of letting the other players initiate on the other team. So maybe you look at initiating with your Ganesha, or even the cavalry charge from your Guan Yu. Your Loki cannot really be caught out like that, because Loki's a big part of why you're winning some of these games or some of these fights.
I agree. It does look like they're going to go ahead and pick up this primal here. The Ganesha. Ganesha goes ahead and does steal it with his ultimate, but Jimmy does go ahead and pick up the Hera. So, spin. A great ult from Ganesha to go ahead and pick up that Gold Fury, but they do pay the price with the Hera. Is that a good trade, as we do see Fenrir and Athena go ahead and jump in on this Loki? And they are still going to dive on the Ganesha, is going to silence with Guan Yu on this Athena. But doesn't look like anything else is going to come from this fight. So back to the Gold Fury fight. Is that a good trade if you are Bargain Bunch to drop your mid laner for this Oni Fury?
I think almost any trade is a good trade as long as it's not more than 2 to 3 people. Unless you can get 2 to 3 people on the other side. Dropping the Ganesh ult, getting the Gold Fury, big win, because you cannot let Clearly Hacking keep building this lead. Even though it's only 4K, it's not really a big lead at 22 minutes in the game. But the more of a lead that they build, less of a chance you got to come back into this game. And the game's not over right now because it's only 4K. Loki was popping off earlier. He still has a 1-level lead. Ram and Hachi are even. Ganesha, Athena are even. There's only 1 level, and the levels are traded. Mid lane for Bargain Bunch is 1 level down on Clearly Hacking, but the jungler is 1 level down on the other jungler on the Bargain Bunch side. But the big level differential is Guan Yu and Chalk. Chalk's got 2 levels, and you can see that in the player damage charts. 7k over his mid laner. He's at 16k damage right now. The only one in double digit thousands. That he is making a huge impact, and he needed to do it with Chalk.
As we do see a Guan Yu ult come out and the Rama ult just to kind of save himself from that CC here as he's going to drop back. And the Fenrir ult comes out as Ganesha goes ahead and grabs Mask as Mask's beads are going to come down as well. We see the Taiko drums from Ryzen and the Argus is dropped as well. And Argus is going to go ahead and pick up that Ryzen here. So, a great fight there. And Chalk is full diving with an Athena teleport coming in as well. The silence does happen through the Ganesh. And the taunt happens from Athena. But this Argus is still there as well as Chalk is just diving. He's fighting 5 people right now. And it doesn't look like it's going to work out very well for him as he finally falls. I mean, he lasted forever in that fight. I do want to bring up, you know, the grouping there was there. But we do see Guan Yu with that mace, that T1 mace still. What's the idea behind that?
24 minutes in, that mace has to be finished, in my opinion. There's no reason not. You might as well just build Fighter's Mask. Because you don't ever have to complete Fighter's Mask. It just gives you a crap ton of power. Mace only gives you 15. I would love to see that be a Fighter's Mask instead and then go Warrior's Axe later. I can see maybe some reasoning behind it, but he hasn't finished the item. And he has 30% cooldown, so going Jotuns is 50%. That's not a bad deal, as we see Ganesh just standing out of position, almost caught out. Juicy Jimmy looks like he's going to get traded on.
And Hachi does find Juicy in this Fire Giant pit right after. Clearly Hacking does take the Pyromancer. So again, the same question arises. I don't think that it's necessarily a good trade to trade your jungle for a Pyro, but what do you think about it?
I don't like losing your jungler just for a Pyromancer. I think Pyro is like the one objective where if you lose somebody for it, it's more of a why did you lose someone for it? And to try to turn onto a Ganesha and not getting the Ganesha, I think is not worth it. As the Athena dashes in, gets a 3-man taunt.
Does hit 3-man taunt as the Taiko drums do come out as well as the Ganesha ult. And Argus is dropped again. And Hard Stepdad does pick up the Ryzen here as Chalk is kind of caught out of place. And the Athena is also getting dove by this Loki and Guan Yu. And they will find Amish on the Athena. So it kind of seems, you know, the exact same thing is happening here as game 1. As Guan Yu is going to go ahead and dive this Chalk, but Chalk is going to make it out safely. And they are going to pick up the T2 tower in mid lane. So we started out the same way, Clearly Hacking showing aggression very early in the game and, you know, made it a little farther into the mid game, but it's Bargain Bunch again, grouping better. What do we do if we're Clearly Hacking here and trying to change this? Because it seems like nothing's working in this mid to late game.
Fenrir was dead during that time. So the follow-up that's been happening behind the Athena wasn't there. And then getting the pick on Ryzen, when Athena went in, the burst is not there either. So there's no follow-up CC from Athena to have, because Chalk was out of position as we see a Defender Olympus come out from the Athena, taunt onto the Fenrir.
And Fenrir is just going to have to ult to get out of there. But Roski does go ahead and pick up Juicy, as well as we see Chalk go ahead and silence all 4 members there with the ult. And they are still attacking this Low Shack as Low Shack falls to Roski as well. So again, we didn't see any follow-up from the Athena taunt. Is there anything anything that Clearly Hacking can do after the Athena taunt other than have the Fenrir, come in and try to pull somebody and not use his ult to get away.
Fenrir jumped in with the Defender of Olympus. That means he's initiating that fight, which means he's going to be turned on. And he's a jungler. Yeah, he may have Mantle of Discord. He may have Sledge. It's not gonna happen as we see Athena and Raishin not trying to give up Fire Giant here.
And Hacking does pick up the Fire Giant, and Amish will fall for it. So, we do see Juicy and Raijin and Mask with the Fire Giant. Is this enough to stop this push from the Bargain Bunch?
No, I think you back up reset. You may just lose this tower if you're Clearly Hacking. But Bargain Bunch needs to get their act together. I mean, Clearly Hacking is just emptying at themselves right now. Maybe you just don't pull the fire there because, like, it's been 3 fights in a row where they just jump in and try to take you on a fight. As we see Fenrir jump in here, Guan Yu's super low. He has to get out.
And a great silence from Ganesha keeps Guan Yu alive for the moment as Chalk is going to go ahead and dive. But it does look like everybody's going to make it out. So spin on this Ganesha. I think he's been playing fantastic as the Loki goes ahead and does pick up Juicy on the re-engage as the Chalk goes ahead and silences the Raijin teleport here, as well as Loshak picking up Loki as the Raijin is going to pick up the Hera as well. Blink teleport in, and the taunt and mask is going to go ahead and pick up the Ganesha. Wow. That was a great re-engage from Loki, but Clearly Hacking just they turned it around. Is this something that you might try to push for a Phoenix and possibly try to end here with 3 people down?
I don't think they can end because there's still a Guan Yu ult. If you try to go for the end, he can make a lot of things happen. And Roski's doesn't have crit, but he does do a lot of damage with his basics that you can't overextend too hard. As we see the cavalry charge come out to defend the Phoenix.
Guan Yu is diving on that Raijin just to try to peel him away. Chalk is going to go ahead and ult as well, and they do pick up the Phoenix, as well as pick up Dom, and Amish on the Athena falls, as well as Roski falls from Raijin. So another great fight there. I don't necessarily know, charging with Mask at almost full health, with Fire Giant as well as a Raijin with Fire Giant, I think you give up this T2 as well in left and mid lane. Bargain Bunch, do you just kind of play off until the next fire, give up all the other objectives, or you trying to push something here with Athena down?
You need your team first before you do this next fight. I think it was a mistake from Dom and Ross to try to Roski's to protect that right Phoenix. Just relax, let them have the Phoenix. Don't let them have the end. But both of you dying here means if Clearly Hacking wanted that left tower, they could have had it. When your team respawned, you could have defended the Gold Fear. And the Stone of Foul is also coming out for the Athena. I'm a little questioning on this. It's a great item, but there's a lot of money behind that item. The Athena, after finishing it, though, it may have been a lot of why she's living in these fights.
Another thing that I want to point out here is that Guan sold the mace, finally. And did not buy anything along the lines of that tree. He bought, Magi's Cloak. Just for the CC alone. So what's the idea behind that? The mace just with 15 power instead of the Fighter's Mask. Is that... Am I missing something here, son?
The 15 power it was just for the wave clear, the blue buff clear. It's only 700 gold versus the Fighter's Mask. But I would still much prefer the Fighter's Mask. It gives you a lot more power. Maybe that's why he's not doing as much damage as this Chalk is. As we see the Raiju come out for the Raijin, and Guan Yu's now half health.
Seems like they might be trying to group to pull up this Pyromancer. They might show face here, but I don't see Guan Yu contesting this at all. I don't think there's any reason to contest a Pyromancer, especially when, you have a Phoenix down. If you are Bargain Bunch here, what's the prioritization here? Because Clearly Hacking is going to try to push the aggression, push this Fire Giant, and it is EFG. So is this something that you have to defend with a Phoenix down? Is this something that you're trying to steal, trying to start a fight there, or how are we going about this next fight if you are Bargain Bunch?
I think it's the fight you need to take. I think getting them enhanced fire and you don't give them a challenge, there's a problem with that. So I think you just push up right lane, get set up, and then look for a fight at the right time. You guys have been playing really well together. When you guys were a little split, that's when things started to go wrong. I think right now your Ganesh is a little too far out of position. He's all by himself as he gets taunted, pulled in, and he's half health and he hasn't died yet.
We do see a blink from Fenrir, but he does miss and then hits the Brutalize into a silence into the ult. But Fenrir is going to go ahead and grab him and pick up the Ganesha as Chalk is full diving another 3-stack. Guy has been absolutely insane this game as they are going to go ahead and start pulling the fire. The Athena taunt and blink comes down as a stun happens, and Argus is dropped onto the Athena as Mask goes into the air, and Raijin is going to pick up the Roski. Jimmy does fall to hard step dead on the Loki here, and Athena is going to dash out. It's going to look to possibly re-engage, and Hera is picked up by the Raijin. The Thorns is popped from Guan Yu, who is diving, and it looks like the Guan Yu is going to fall with a triple kill from KY in the mid lane. And they are going to go ahead and try to pick up this fire, even though Phoenix has respawn. So with 4 people down, I know the Ganesh is coming up. What's the mindset here from Clearly Hacking? Where do they go after picking up this fire giant?
Clearly Hacking needs to try to run it down mid lane. The right lane might fall because Ganesh is the only one defending the right lane when the fire minions. They're resetting. I like the call. It's a safe call. But I think right now, as Clearly Hacking, when Juicy Jimmy gets back up, they're ready to take this 5v5 fight. And if I'm Bargain Bunch, you need to get that Ganesh ult that came down to try to defend the right Phoenix, and the right Phoenix still falls. That's not a great look for Bargain Bunch. So I think you need to try to group up, and your last fight is going to be on one of these 2 Phoenixes. If I'm Clearly Hacking, I think I take it to the left Phoenix. Run it down, because if you do get the Phoenix and a fight happens and you say you team wipe, but the other team doesn't have really great pushing, they have 2 Phoenixes now, one on the left side and right. That means the next fire is going to be even harder to defend if I'm Bargain Bunch.
And that brings me to my next question. Clearly Hacking does have the EFG here. When they do eventually go ahead and try for a Phoenix Siege, whether it is the mid lane, whether it is the left lane, what is the target prioritization here? Who are we trying to dive with a lot of the actives down?
If you're Clearly Hacking, you're trying to dive, you're going to try to dive this Hera. Once you kill Hera, Argus is dead then too. There's nobody that can really stop you too much outside of the Fenrir on the Ganesha. Just keep doing what you're doing as Clearly Hacking. The Athena taunts have been working. Fenrir has been exceptional with taking all the damage. He may be the second lowest on the damage charts, but as we see the Chalk go in, his ult comes down, Fenrir grabs Hachiman.
And they do pick up the Hachi with BMS, but they are re-engaging. The Guan ult comes out, the Cavalry Charge does come out, and they still have this Phoenix up, and it does look like he will make it out. They are going back onto this Phoenix. The Raijin does go ahead and drop down. Does get polymorphed here. The Athena dives on this, but it does look like the beads are coming out from a Hera. And Hera is going to fall anyways to this low shack. They are trying, it looks like they're going for end game here. They are going to re-engage. This Ganesh is going to come out. Just going to try to body block. This Fenrir is very low health, as well as the Raijin is very low health. Fenrir goes ahead and jumps in the Ganesh silence, and they are going to go ahead and end the game. So a great call, definitely risky, but Clearly Hacking goes and takes game 2. So we did talk about it. Bargain Bunch definitely looked like the better team, team-oriented. In the first game, Clearly Hacking definitely stepped it up. What did you see from game 2, the takeaways from game 2?
Clearly Hacking made the right adjustments. As you could tell, the Athena with that Fenrir pairing was great synergy. They were lacking that with the Fenrir in the game 1. Now, Bargain Bunch, maybe now you don't look at picking up that Hera first spot. It didn't work out this game, but at the same time, Bargain Bunch were grouping up a lot, and then at the end, towards the end, they forgot that they were working really well together as a 5-man unit. I would love to see them. They could probably run this comp back, but I would love to see them go more to the meta picks. Go with the Ryzens, go with the Tiamats, go with the Persephones, and run it back. Like you're first picking your mage, but you're first picking Hera. Let's see something different. Let's see the adjustment set Bargain Bunch can make this game.
I mean, it definitely was a tale of two tapes, as you know, we see Mask a 7-0 and 9 on this Rama pick after having nearly every ADC in the game banned out during the picks and bans phase for him. So, you know, I do agree, like you said, playing it through the duo lane was the win condition, and letting the Ryzen getting ahead was a very, very big deal for them. With that being said, we are going to go ahead and take a short intermission, and we will be back for game 3. Welcome back to the Reap Smite League. We did have some technical difficulties with the picks and bans phase, so we didn't get to talk about them. But we are going to go ahead and get into the final game of this 3-game set between Bargain Bunch and Clearly Hacking. Now, Son of Two Dog, this is the first time we are seeing these teams. How are we feeling about each draft, and what kind of stands out to you here?
I like the Bargain Bunch switching it up from the going on to the Merlin instead of going to Hera. Now, if they first picked it, maybe not the best choice, but it's still, I think, is a lot better than the Hera. But the problem with Merlin, no CC immune ult like the Hera. Baba Yaga, on the other hand, with Clearly Hacking, has some form of CC immunity. Hunbats, I like. They're looking, Clearly Hacking's looking at a team fight draft. Bargain Bunch, they win a team fight draft, but not with as many CC immune ults. Roskies and Merlin are going to have to be good with their positioning not to get their beats burned.
And I do know that Juicy is playing his favorite god in Hunbats, and Loshak, who made a name for himself in the SDL and getting promoted in RSL, is playing on the Jormungandr that he played so well against everybody in the SDL. Is that something that needs to be brought up? If you are the Bargain Bunch, you know, these two are on two people that they are very comfortable with, like very well, and have seen success with before.
Yeah, I think you go on. If Bargain Bunch is playing their comfort picks, and you were able to, and you're still trying to play top meta or your best picks for the situation, I think Yorm, great pick for Loshak. He performed on Chalk really well, which I thought they were going to go back to, but they didn't. Hunbats, Juicy is phenomenal on Hunbats. He's very good with a lot of setup gods. He's very aggressive. And every time his ult's up, prepare for a team fight. I'm ready to watch Clearly Hacking team fight from level 5 onwards with Juicy.
And don't forget the Cupid ult too, that does cause a lot of problems, and if not, it definitely burns a lot of beads, as we do see Loshak getting dived here on an early gank from the Thanatos, but it seems like they're just going to try to poke him out here. So, with, you know, Mask playing fantastic in that second game and kind of, you know, running the dual lane, and Loshak playing great with the damage output that we had off the Chalk, what is Clearly Hacking's win condition here? Who do they want to play through to take this final game and win the set against Bargain Bunch? And inversely, what is Bargain Bunch looking to do here?
Bargain Bunch is looking to pressure the solo lane. I think you want to get the Xingqian ahead here. Yorm, not going to really be hurt too much from the Xingqian. But Clearly Hacking wants the team fight here. They got the Geb ult with the Cupid ult. When you say circles, I'm like Clearly Hacking. Bargain Bunch, on the other hand, they got a lot of circle ults, but you also got someone like Merlin who doesn't have a normal traditional ult. So you're going to see more ult combos from Clearly Hacking than I think you will see from Bargain Bunch.
It does seem like the duo lane is at more of a standstill, you know, trading a little bit back and forth. Baba Yaga is going to go ahead and pick up these XP cants, but I will lose lane pressure to this Merlin. We did see, you know, Tay on the Ryzen play fantastic. Is that something that you look at on this Baba Yaga? You know, because they're two totally different gods. They play totally different. Do you still see the aggression from K in this mid lane?
You will see the aggression because Merlin's a later game god. Baba Yaga is going to get some of the stacking items, going to be more pressure oriented. I think they, for as Sobek plucks in the Geb. Geb is rolling out, and the execute is good for Hard Stepdad. And I think they're going to disengage here. But I do think clearly hacking needs to try to get a Juicy Jimmy ult with a Cupid ult and a Geb ult.
Doesn't look like they're disengaging yet. Well, they finally will. That Thanatos hard step that is playing very aggressive. He's going to go back in on this Cupid on Mask with Sobek there as well. The Sobek blink is down. And BMask is going to make it out safely. So a great ult from Thanatos to pick up that Gib early in early first blood. And that's something that I think you want to do, especially since, you know, Mask kind of dominated that second game. If you are Amish and you are Mask, what are we doing in the duo lane? Because you know that Thanatos is going to ult on cooldown. He's going to try to keep you guys down. How do we change the pace here?
You're getting aggressive. Keep getting aggressive. I think your Humbats has got ult now. He's able to compete now with this Thanatos. Let him come over and look for that purple and buff invade. But on the other hand, Bargain Bunch, keep doing what you're doing. You're getting the pressure out on dual lane. You got pressure on the soul lane side. That's kind of hard to do with a Xing Shin. Right now, Hard Stepdad's doing what he does best, and that's be early aggressive. He's been doing it all set. He's doing it in game 3.
Yeah, he looked really good on this Thanatos in game 1. I don't necessarily think it constituted a ban in this third game, but it's something that he is comfortable with. And, you know, like we talked about, playing that comfort pick is a big deal here. And especially with him, you know, playing as well as he did on that game 1 is definitely something to be wary about. We are going to see the Tiamat go ahead and head over to these Oracles here. Oh, I'm sorry. Wow, that was... been a long day. That's okay. It is not Tiamat. I promise that they are not in this game. But we are going to see the Oracles drop nonetheless. And we are going to see a small fight here over on the left side. Harpies as Juicy is going to get out.
I do want to point out, though, since you were talking about Tiamat, you look at the bands on the top left. I'm missing a very familiar face. As
That
the
is
Cupid ult
true.
comes out.
And we do see the ult from Kurnanos as well. But yeah, but that does bring up a good point. If, you know, Tiamat doesn't get banned, why are they not in the game? Is that something that might have been like a misclick, maybe, for Merlin or Baba Yaga? Or is this just, you know, the same way we talked about with the comfort picks? Is that... I don't see why you don't take Tiamat. Can you try to explain that to me?
As the Thanatos lands onto the...
He's hovering in the air, and they are going to pick up Jimmy. So again, Stepdad is showing his presence very early. We said he's going to ult on cooldown, and I don't know what you can do about that. It's something I think if you are clearly hacking, you're just going to have to play a little bit safer than what you have been. What do you do about a Thanatos that's starting to get a lead here?
Well, your first question, your Tiamat, I think neither one is comfortable on her, and Bargain Bunch isn't going to run something they're not comfortable with. They have showed time and time again as the blink comes in from Sobek, that's a nice pluck, and it's just going to disengage here. And then your second question, what you're going to do about the Thanatos ulting over in dual lane, there's not much you can do about it. It's just keep trying to push the aggression with Juicy. He's still even level, and Thanatos isn't like he's 2-0 and 3 levels up on you. He's even, which means it tells you that he's rotating a lot. He's looking for these picks to try to help out his team instead of farming. If you're Juicy, when your ult's down, just go and farm his jungle, because right now he's looking to try to get aggressive in mid lane with his yellow, the back camps, and blue buff all being up. If Juicy would have looked over there, that's a lot of free farm that he could have got over there.
As we do see Thanatos in the air again, is going to look for Juicy, and Juicy is going to go ahead and get out and waste the ult. I know, I mean, he does look like he was getting chased there, but there's no reason to use that ult. Just kind of play it safe. Bringing, you know, back up to the Than, who's got an early 2 kills. If you're Juicy, do you try to push another lane here, or are you just, you know, staying far? As we do see an engage here from Loshak on the Yorm onto Thanatos. Jingchen is going to go ahead and windmill here, and Loshak is going to go ahead and pick up the Thana, and they're not done yet, as it looks like the Yorm is not going to stop onto the Jingchen. Geb is there for the stun, and they are like they're not going to dive. Loshak is diving this T1 tower onto Jing. Geb goes ahead and pops his shield. It looks like that might be the end of it with the Sobek coming over. So back to the original question after a great fight from Loshak and Amish, as it looks like, this Sobek is getting a little aggressive as well as the Jingchen. Yeah, they are just kind of, as Juicy goes ahead and picks up the kill on Merlin in the mid lane. So that is a good comeback for Juicy. But back to the question is they're going to try to start pulling this Gold Fury. It looks like clearly he's going to get it for free with no contest. If you're Juicy, which might have answered my question already, Thanatos has already shown presence in this duo lane a couple of times. And, the ult, you can't get away from it if you are Mask unless you have the beads, you get dropped. As Mask is going to go ahead and get soloed by Roski here. It's a great engage from the Kern. But if you're Juicy, do you try to pull another lane ahead, or do you just stay and farm and try to get yourself as far ahead as you can for these team fights when you try to dive?
Juicy's, I think, doing exactly what he needs to do. If Dantos isn't getting miles and miles ahead of you, he's only even. That means you can keep doing your game and keep playing the game you want to play. But Dantos, as he's going up into the air looking at this red buff,
And he's going to dive onto... And Geb is going to go ahead and shield here. We do see a Sobek ult come out as a silence from him. And the Cupid ult comes out as well. And Stepdad is going to go ahead and pick up the Baba Yaga here on that engage. So they steal the red buff. They go ahead and pick up Baba Yaga. And it looks like Stepdad is not stopping here. Is going to pick up Amish on the Geb as well. So definitely, as of right now, the MVP for Game 3 is Hard Stepdad. I mean, he's absolutely carrying this game. How do we stop this Thanatos? Because now it's becoming a problem. One or two kills isn't a big deal, but when he's diving, taking a red buff, and picking up 2 kills here, and forcing out ults, that does become a problem. If you are clearly hacking, how do we change the game plan here on the fly in Game 3?
he was like 5-0 at one point last game with Loki. I think you tried to wait out this onslaught as they're looking at this Gold Fury and no contestation. Maybe it is getting a little out of hand here, but you do need to understand that, like, you got the late game, you got the Cupid ult, you got the Geb ult, and a Hunbat's ult. Try to start utilizing him a little bit, and look at this dual lane. You got your Yorm is 2-0. He's doing a great job. Thanatos is going to have to rotate over there eventually. I think if you're Juicy, you go over to dual lane, you help out the Cupid. He got soloed a little bit earlier. He's down a level. Sobek is even. Everywhere's great for your team because you're a level up on the Thanatos, who's 4-1. It's not like Thanatos is running away with the game. So I think you keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and we see Juicy doing exactly what you asked from him. Is this Thanatos is playing super aggressive in lane, is showing face quite a bit, and he is getting kills, but he is losing out on the XP. As we see Juicy go ahead and take those back camps, and clearly hacking is going to take the Draugr too. So again, not much has come. The Thanatos is looking great, getting a lot of kills, but they're not getting a ton from it. Is that something that you should be worried about if you're the Bargain Bunch, or is that something that you need to try to play through? Maybe get a pick with this Thanatos and try to push lanes somewhere that he gets those kills, or are we trying to, just let him get as far ahead as he can, or stay ahead, show presence to get everybody else ahead? As we see a blink ult from Geb, the Fear No Evil comes out from the Hun Bats, and Merlin is going to drop. Baba Yaga drops the house on them. Sobek ult is going to come out here, and the Merlin is going to go ahead and fall. But we do see Hard Stepdad go ahead and pick up Juicy. So who wins that fight there? The Thanatos obviously gets the kill, as they're not stopping. Jormungandr is going in on this Thanatos, as we see the ult come out from Yorm. And it doesn't look like he's going to engage much further than this. So again, back to the last fight that we had. Who wins that? I mean, Stepdad has been showing, that you get kills, but you finally get the mid laner in this team fight.
It was a great fight from both sides. I don't think much happened from both sides. But what I want to point out is Loshak used one of the 2 levels that he had on to the Xing Shin here, and he lost 1 level. it was a rotation that didn't get much for Loshak. So I think Bargain Bunch is getting a little bit better, got a little bit more out of that because of the rotation from Loshak, and nothing happened.
I do agree with that, and we do see, the Kern is 2 levels up on this Cupid, which is a little bit different than games 1 and 2. Game 1 stayed pretty even, and then game 2, Mask kind of popped off there. So, you do like the change from Roski, to play this farm game. He hasn't been on a ton of team fights, which is a good thing. Hasn't been pushed out as much as he did in the game 2. So that is a blink ult from Hun Bats, and they are gonna pick up this Thanatos, and that's exactly what you want to see. The change in ideology from them to go ahead and try to invade those back camps is fantastic. If you're Bargain Bunch, Thanatos started out great, and now we're starting to see the levels come together. Hun Bats is looking better and better as time goes on. What do you do for Bargain Bunch in these fights?
As we see a late beads from Baba Yaga in the team fight here.
And it does seem like the Sobek ult does come out as well. They're going to go ahead and pop. Looks like Geb and Sobek are just kind of playing patty cake over there. But Geb is trying to dive. The Sobek pluck comes out. Yorm is there as well, diving in this T1. Does look like it just comes out. And Jingchen is there as well. And nobody is going to be pulled in. So a wasted ult from Dom. I like the idea behind it, but just a little bit behind on that ultimate.
The Baba Yaga pick there showed a lot of prevalence there. Jumping, got out just in time before the Xingqian ult happened anything there. Nothing really came out of it, except I like this way Juicy's playing this game right now. He may not be on the damage charts, but his name is on the staple of a lot of the kills for his team. That back camp invade, I bet was a Juicy call or a Loshak call, but I think Juicy is making these plays that he needs to be making. May not be doing all the damage and may not be high on the stat charts like Hard Stepdad here, who's also making the plays that his team needs. But you see very different. Juicy's a facilitator. Hard Stepdad's going in for the kills that his team needs.
And I do want to bring up the player damage again. We had Loshak on Chalk, and now we see Loshak on Yorm, and has a 7k player damage lead on the next closest person, and we're only 16 minutes into the game. How do you shut down Loshak right now? 2 different gods and has a massive... I mean, he is showing his presence in every single fight.
He's showing his presence in every fight, but at the same time, Thanatos is in the air here. As they start the Gold Fury, missed Thanatos ult.
We do see a Sobek ult come out as well. A blink from Thanatos. The Baba Yaga is going to go ahead and throw some of her potions over there, and it doesn't seem so. We do see the Thanatos and Sobek ult come out for basically nothing. So it does look like clearly Hacking is going to start this Gold Fury again, and nobody's going to contest it. We do see the good zoning from them. Clearly Hacking is going to take that. Well, we do see Kern try to show face there, but it doesn't look like anything is going to come out of it, as Clearly Hacking does take the Primal Fury. So another great fight from Clearly Hacking. Again with the... Oh, it looks like the ult's going to come out from Kern, and he's going to miss it, but Mask is in some trouble here. Goes ahead and pops the just a little early, and Jimmy is going to fall to Roski. And they're not done yet. Merlin is here on this Geb and does pick up Amish. So, we do see a great fight from Clearly Hacking. Oh, Loshak also falls in this fight as well on the right side. So, again, this Thanatos is just flying around the map. We do see the Gold Fury fall from Clearly Hacking, but a great re-engage from Roski helps pick up 2 of the members of Clearly Hacking and a 3rd from Than on Loshak.
That was not worth it for the Bart. It was not worth it for the Clearly Hacking. They got the Gold Fury, but 3 picks and a tier 1 tower in left lane, and maybe a tier 1 tower in right lane here soon. And Loshak was 3-0. That's a big shutdown for Bargain Bunch. And the wards coming out, that's a lot of wards for both sides outside of the soul lane. And Dom's not doing a lot with not buying the wards here. But I do like the Spectral coming out. When he saw Cupid going Rage, that's a really good buy right there from Dom at the third item in the soul lane. On the controversy, you see Geb get a huge ult in mid lane. There goes the beats from Merlin.
We do see the dive here. The Sobek ult does come out. Baba Yaga is going to dive in as well. This Merlin barely hanging on by a thread. And finally falls to Juicy on this T1. So a great dive from them. I don't think they're going to engage anywhere else. Well, Baba Yaga goes ahead, and Yorm is there as well. Thanatos ult does come in, but nothing is found from it. And it looks like clearly hacking is going to take this T1. I was going to bring up the level difference, but it doesn't seem like it matters to clearly hacking. They, showed the aggression on that fight and took the T1 tower. What's the mindset if you're Bargain Bunch? I mean, you have a level lead. You don't expect them to play this aggressive, and yet here we are.
You don't expect them to play that aggressive, but if you're not grouping up, and they are, the level doesn't matter at all. And your Hunter needs to be there. He's 3 levels up on this Hunter, and they're doing this Fire Giant when, in reality, your Hunter should be the one doing the Fire Giant. And Bargain Bunch isn't here to even contest the Fire Giant.
It was a great call by them. They, they knew the Thanatos ult was down, so they couldn't steal that much. As Thanatos is going to dive in on this Amish Geb pick, but nothing is going to come of it. But yeah, again, they saw the Fire Giant was up. They knew the Thanatos ult was down. I think it was a great call from them. Clearly hacking, they really stepped it up there from game 1 all the way to game 3. It just seems like they keep getting better and better and better. If you are Bargain Bunch, how, we never got to talk about this. How do you stop the Loshak? How do you stop Loshak and his damage output right now?
He only put 2k damage in the last fight. That's a lot of damage comparing it to 8k. And then a mystical mail also coming out from Loshak. I think this is a lot of damage coming out from this snake. If I were if he was my friend, I would be careful because snakes in the grass come everywhere.
They certainly do, and it's one of those you do not want to see in the grass because he is massive right now. Not level lead, but just his presence in these fights, as we see, they are grouping to take this left tower, as we do see Inferno Evil come out from Hunbats, who's diving in on this Kern, and he's going to back off, but Loshak is not. He's going to dive into this T2 here, and the Kern ult comes out, but he is going to pick off Roxy, and Merlin is finding his way in here, as Loshak is going to ult out here. Baba Yaga is throwing those potions like she does so well, and Yorm is going to re-engage on this fight in the T1. Cupid ult does come out from Mask, and Mask is going to fall to Thanatos, but I think Thanatos might fall just as well here, as a blink comes out, a great blink from Than, but Yorm is still there. The silence comes out. It looks like Jimmy is getting dove, but jumps out as well. Jimmy is going to fall to the Merlin, as Baba Yaga is there to try to re-engage with this Yorm, who's still over 3/4 of health after fighting this entire time. This is insane what's going on right now. This is a great fight from both teams, and it looks like Dom is going to fall to the Baba Yaga as well. And wow, Yorm just fought for, it felt like forever, and he's still at half of his health. That's got to be a little bit of a morale, that kills your morale if you're Bargain Bunch to dump everything on this guy, right?
They dumped everything in, and then Sobek goes in for the pluck. He gets the pluck. Baba Yaga jumps in for the fight.
Baba Yaga picks it off, and Amish is going to fall to Thanatos, but Thanatos has no ult, as Yorm is going to engage again. Baba Yaga is getting trailed by this Sobek here. And Yorm looks like he might just split off for this Baba Yaga just to get out. Yorm is in a tough place with 3 members of Bargain Bunch staring him down, but he's going to make it out. So again, you take the T1, you do lose Amish. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think that's a great trade, correct?
I think that's a great trade, but at the same time, Bargain Bunch is doing a great job stalling this fire. They got it off BMS. They got it off Juicy. I think if you're looking at this game, Bargain Bunch is doing everything they need to do to keep stalling this fire. They may lose this Gold Fury here, but the Gold Fury is going to be the only thing that puts the giant lead on clearly hacking. 1k gold at 24 minutes into this game is nothing.
I do agree with you. Bargain Bunch did a great job there. We do see the Oni come down, but that's you're gonna have to worry about these Oni waves when fire comes up. Is that something to be worried about if you're Bargain Bunch?
Fire doesn't come up for another minute. I don't think that's the biggest worry on your plate if you're Bargain Bunch or clearly hacking. I think if you're Bargain Bunch, you let this pyro fall, you clear out all the Oni waves, and get ready for this next fire. You're doing such a great job team fighting that I think if clearly hacking did not have fire there, they do not win that fight.
I agree, and it shows again that Bargain just stole the pyro there. As Loshak's just kind of wanting to 1v4 here, just showing face at this fire giant. This next fire giant I think is a big one, correct? I mean, Bargain Bunch lost the fire giant fight, and they are going to go ahead and dive on this Loshak. There's 4 of them there, as Merlin is going to throw out his ice, and it looks like the Baba Yaga house is going to come down. He's going to start swinging as well. Yorm ult, and it looks like Baba Yaga is going to go ahead and find the Jing Chin. Yorm is still diving this Than and is going to show up to try to pick off. The Than is re-engaging here. Looks like they're going to go ahead and pick up the support as well as Sobek. So, Than is still kind of hovering around at very low health here. Oh, and they are diving into this T2 with the Draugr protection on it. And I think that's just enough. So this Than, just stayed there long enough, just enough for Baba Yaga to not show face in that fight on the T1, but it does look like they're going to lose a T2 in mid tower here with the minions. Looks like Baba Yaga wants to go ahead and try to fight this Merlin here under the T2. And is going to think likewise and get out of there. So another great fight here. Clearly hacking does look like they're going to go ahead and try to take this fire. And they are going to get it. So now that they have this second fire, that throws my question out the window. How does Bargain... Oh, Stepdad does pick up Loshak on the tail end of that fight and Fire Giant. So with Loshak being down, does Clearly Hacking still try to push the objectives, knowing how Bargain Bunch played the last team fight with Fire Giant?
I think you still push down the towers. There's 2 tier 2 left. 2 tier 2s left. Push it. Try to do the fights this time, but this time don't lose as many players. They got a Thanatos ult, but right now you need to wait for your Loshak to get back up. He's been a big part of the reason why you've been winning these games. And if on the other hand, if you're Bargain Bunch, Roskis needs to be there. He needs to be there in that fight. That's the second time they lost fire because he wants to try to split push a Phoenix, but they met him with the Hunbats. They need him to be there. Their team has been winning some of these, or they've been drawing out these fights because he's been there. He's been there with the Fire Giant defenses on that tier 1 tower. I want to see what they can do when he's there when the other team doesn't have fire.
I do agree here. And the big story is, Mask might be 0-2, but he's definitely caught up in level here, as we do see Amish getting dilled by these 4 members. The Sobek plucked back into Merlin. Merlin's going to go ahead and try to burst him down here. Thanatos is hovering in the area, but in the meantime, KY goes ahead and picks up Roski over on the left side here. We do see the Thanatos ult come out and not pick up anybody. The Baba Yaga ult does come out as well. That house is going to cause some damage here, as well as give the mitigations that they need to try to take this T2, and they do. Do we push here for Phoenix? It looks like Loshak is going to go in on this Phoenix here. They are still fighting. It looks like they're kind of circling around. The Jing Chin ults and throws out back into Phoenix, but it doesn't look like it's going to do much, and they are still on top of this Phoenix. So, you try to do as much as you could. They do have Fire Giant. If you're the Clearly Hacking side, do you try to take this mid Phoenix, or are you trying to just go for this T2 heal up? As we do see Jing Chin go ahead and get a little aggressive here. Baba Yaga has to dash out.
I think you try for this mid Phoenix, but don't try too hard. Back out if you have to and do the right tier 2. You have a safe call. Do the safe call. As Thanatos goes into the air, and Yorm is still low enough to be taken out with the Thanatos ult.
And he does find the Loshak. That is a big pick right there, because that's one of your main people, that kind of just not necessarily takes a lot of damage. I mean, he does, but he's one of those that just kind of gets in there and disrupts things. Makes things hard for comms, makes people second guess themselves on what they want to do. So Bargain Bunch does pick up a big member of Clearly Hacking, and now that Bargain Bunch kind of has the power play here, where are you going? What's the objective next for Bargain Bunch, even though they still have this Fire Giant?
In Bargain Bunch, you take the Gold Fury. I think you may even push it far. You have to push down the left lane and take Gold Fury. But now, if you're Roski's, you didn't have beads because you were split pushing earlier. That's the reason why you lost to Phoenix there. I want to see him in these team fights with the beads up and the Aegis. If you're split pushing and you don't have beads or Aegis, I'm okay with that. But if you have beads and you lose your beads because you're split pushing, and then you guys try to defend your tier 2 tower, and you die really quick because you don't have beads, I don't think that's a great play. But on the other hand, clearly Hacking is taking advantage of him split pushing, losing these beads. They're on these timers. And I think Juicy's throwing out his ult at the right time, making the correct plays. Then you got Loshak, who's doing phenomenal on the Snake. I think if you're a Bargain Bunch, I think you can do something here. You have to try for a play.
Yeah, I think you need to definitely force something here, as we see clearly Hacking pick up the Primal Fury. Bargain Bunch does not elect to go for the Primal. But, on the other hand, well, it looks like they're going to go ahead and engage here. They have no Fire Giant left, so it's a pretty even fight for the most part. If you are the Bargain Bunch, you try to defend this T2, correct, for as long as you can.
Again, Roski's is split pushing here, so you probably just give this tier 2 up, unless they're just going to back up and wait for fire.
Well, Roski does come back. He does back, and he is heading that way as well. So we're going to have a full strength Fire Giant fight here. If you are Bargain Bunch, and if you're clearly Hacking, what's the objective here on this Fire Giant? Are we playing for a pick? Do we try to start it and drop it, or where do we go?
Clearly Hacking is an all-in comp. They got to go all in or nothing. If you're a Bargain Bunch, you can dip and dash because you got Thanatos. You can get the kill with Thanatos. He can get out. He can come right back in when someone's low. I want to see these teams play around what their comp is better at than the other team.
It's definitely going to be an interesting fight, and we might get it here sooner rather than later. So Baba Yaga is going to go ahead and throw one of those potions out, maybe just to kind of, just a check, just a little check here. Geb's going to go ahead and dash in as we get a crit, and a ult from Jing Chen comes out. The Fear No Evil does come out from the Hun Bats as well. And Juicy is going to go ahead and pick up Roski. And there looks like there is massive damage from Mask coming in on the Jing Chen. And Juicy is going to pick up Jing Chen as well, as Loshak's just standing in a T2, daring them to try to pick up their back line. Now they're going to go ahead and fire it. If you're Bargain, I don't think you can test this. But at the same time, it's EFG with a Phoenix down. It's not impossible. It's not impossible, but it's definitely going to have to be a perfect game from Bargain Bunch in order to come back from this, correct?
It's going to have to be a perfect game, but at the same time, your Kern doesn't have beads and your Merlin doesn't have beads. So next time when they're diving, you got to keep an eye out on this Humbats. This Humbats is going to make another great ult play. He's going to probably ult, and Merlin and Kern won't have beads for this next fight.
And they just melted that Phoenix, and it looks like they might be looking to engage here. The left Phoenix does come back up, so they won't have the minions pouring in just yet, but Loshak is diving in the Titan room. A lot of fighting going on here. A lot of crits coming out from that Mask pick on the Cupid, and Juicy is going to go ahead and pick up Roski. Juicy is going to fall too hard step dead on the Thanatos, and it looks like they're going to think likewise and just try to retreat and get out of here after picking up that Phoenix. So you do lose your ADC, and you do lose a Phoenix, but you don't lose the game with and get the EFG off of Juicy. I definitely think this makes the next fight more manageable if you are Bargain. So that's a small win there, correct?
They lost now 2 Phoenixes after those fire minions poured into left lane. It's definitely going to be more manageable without the Humbats there, but you don't have your ADC. So the basics that would shred a Yorm isn't there. So your Merlin is doing all the damage.
You see a blink ult from Geb, and Yorm ult is going to go ahead and pick up the Merlin. Looks like they are going in on this Phoenix here, as we see Dom is going to go ahead and ult the Mask and just throw him out of there to get him out, and he's going to stay on top of Mask. Mask is in execute range. The Aegis comes out, but it doesn't matter as they pick up Mask as well. So another thing that you talked about, Loshak is going to pick up Thanatos, and we do see minions pouring in from the left and right side that might just be trying to keep them alive. And Dom is going to have to dash away out of here as they are still fighting in this mid lane. Dom is very low health. I think you try to get back and try to re-engage maybe after. Baba Yaga is throwing out all these potions and picking up. They are going in on this mid Phoenix, and they are going to go ahead and pick up this mid Phoenix as Juicy does re-engage. He is finally back. They aren't stopping here either. They're pushing as far as they can go. They might be trying to take this Titan here. They have a lot coming out. The Fear No Evil does come out. Juicy picks up Roski, and that is the game. A great game from Clearly Hacking. Juicy coming back in. Son, what did you see there in that last fight? I mean, they lost Juicy. Thanatos did drop, but it seems like they didn't care. Loshak never died, and they just kind of followed him in there.
When Roski was getting picked there, you can tell that Juicy's job was to take out Roski. So if Roski was there, he was taking him out. Then they had the backup plan, which was take out Merlin. They backed up. They got ready to re-engage. They re-engaged right when Gabolt came back up, and Yorm dunked on the Merlin. Merlin then dropped. You can't kill tanks if you don't have your 2 damage dealers. Tanks just live forever. As you can tell, Loshak was massive on the Yorm. Baba Yaga following up with all the damage. And Juicy's doing what he does best and facilitates his entire team with that Humbets.
I do think it was a great set from both sides here, as we do see, the Baba Yaga was 5-1. Mask was 0-3, but definitely did have that damage output that they needed to go ahead and secure the kills. I think it was a great set from both teams. That was a roller coaster, like I said, in game one, but that didn't last in just game one. Game two, it started out the same way, up and back and forth, back and forth. And game three, Bargain Bunch looked good at the very beginning, and then Clearly Hacking just kind of took over at the end. I do think that it was a very, very winnable game for both sides. Son, how did you feel about, Bargain Bunch at the very end of that game? Was there something that they could have done to change the outcome of that game other than Roski getting picked?
When he had that 3-level lead, he needed to be at that Fire Giant fight, but he wasn't. And then from there, Clearly Hacking took the man advantage, got the Fire Giant, and then they got BM Mask off that Fire Giant to level 20. So the lead he had was lost in a matter of 5 minutes. I don't think it's all on Roski's. I think it's a matter of your team needs to call you over.
Well,
And that's going to be all.
we do see Clearly Hacking take that set, and we will be right back after this intermission for an interview with the winning team. With Loshak. All right, and welcome back to the Reap Smite League, where we are joined here by the starting solo laner in Loshak for Clearly Hacking. And Son of Two Dog, I'm going to leave it to you to ask some questions about how the set went.
We saw Bargain Bunch, and congratulations on the win. We saw Bargain Bunch pick Hera game 1, second pick, first time, right?
Yeah.
Game 2, they just first pick it. What adjustments did you make against the Hera?
All right, hear me out. It's going to sound super cocky. And apparently you guys were dogging the old chalk on the cast, and it was the chalk. I was just like, I need something CC immune because that RDO, I was getting a little smacked around by the old transformation. So I was like, okay, if I just initiate with chalk ult, you can't do it to me. So I'll just kill you. And I did.
So, speaking on the Chalk and Yorm, not traditional solo laners. Does your team trust you that much to just let you play whatever you want?
No, not really. They kind of gave up on me because I just kept saying chalk, and they were like, "Fine, we'll let you play it. We lost game 1. We'll just let you play game 2." I was like, "Let's go." There you go. They better have trusted me now.
I'm glad they have a lot of trust in you now, and congratulations on the win. But Bob, do you have any other questions for Loshak here?
I have one question other than, that everybody has to respect the Yorm now after seeing that. That was just, fantastic gameplay. But is there anybody else, any certain people that you want to shout out here on stream while we've got you here?
Oh yeah, of course. You know, all of the clearly hacking boys. You know, you got Juicy, Mask, Amish, and our sub today, KY Jelly, as I want to call him, but I never do, but I have now. You know, these are great boys. You know, I love working with them. I love playing with them. They can be turds, but so can I. So you know, I mean, I look forward to talk to you guys, the casters, more often after every win.
Well, with that gameplay, you guys definitely look like a top team there. And with that, we are going to have to go ahead and close the rest of this broadcast. I do want to remind you guys that we do have a game, an SDL game, tomorrow at 6 p.m. It's going to be the AFK Farmers versus Nacho Supremos. So feel free to tune into that to watch another exciting set of the Reap Smite League. And we will see you tomorrow.
Goodbye.
Does manage to beat away.
That's gonna be the doggy out.
There is one
Chains too.
That's gonna be our good. That's
Okay,
out.
he smells him out.
There.
And a good Kraken will steal the Oni Fury.
I don't think so. Popping oh on it.
He steals it with the Nesha.
Steals it.
Kappa just.
Dooky's in trouble. The heart bomb.
He is in trouble, but good job there by Cowboy Jay.
No!
He didn't do that. But oh, Skipper
But he
trying
can't-
to go after it.
He can't run the auto.
No tilting. You're all just pumped up, ready for game number 2. Y'all talking to each other.
But this Phoenix under siege. Phoenix is at half. Jobek taken out. Sexton Cannon taken out by Turbog.
Haley, you still don't win that fight. No, no!
And that means they're leaving this emoji up that Breezy played in game 1, which I thought looked really good. I think he pilots it very well.
Yeah, 2 halves. There you go. We got those 2 brain cells. We can talk about 2 different things now. Well, we working on.
And Zero Easy Does It is going to be focused on, and we're gonna see a quadra kill.
And he is. Looks like he's gonna go down. Haley did use the ult already?
No.
Oh, the impale! He's insane!
And now, Juan's gonna be subject to the Rama ult, both on target. What a great snipe